Dum, 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 dum.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Steven is a world-class singer, which is actually true.
Guy was nominated for an Israeli Tony.
That is very true.
That is
Yes.
also true. We've done our bit. We've done our fair share. Um, all right, it is 10 a.m. We have 22 people. Thank you for joining us on this morning or afternoon, depending on what coast you are on. I'm going to share my screen here really quickly and talk to you about branding for actors and why it's important. So first off, I am Steven with Reelarc. We craft media packages for actors. For those of you who don't know us, we help actors create impactful media packages that grab attention of decision makers to help you land the dream gig and representation you've always wanted. We believe that to run a successful acting career, there are a few critical parts you need to master, and that you want to run all aspects very well so your career can reach your dream goals. Those parts are your brand, your media, and strategy, which is comprised of reps and mindset. In each of our webinars, we're going to take a look at one or more of these critical subjects to help your career launch as quickly and effectively as possible. Now, remember, there's no secret sauce to success in acting. We don't believe in that. Our goal is to provide you with valuable information so you can then take action and get yourself as ready as possible for when opportunity knocks. Guy, how does this look? How's my presentation looking?
Amazing. Front
Incredible.
center. Yes.
Cool. So first off, I promise you that at the end of this webinar, you will have a new perspective on actor branding. Also, our process works for all actors because it is based on your authenticity, not someone else's opinion of you. There is no special sauce here. There is no secret ingredient. And I don't want you to just blindly believe in what I'm about to tell you. I want you to see it to be true for yourself. So I want to pose a quick question to the group. Rhetorical. Question time. If we ended the Zoom right now and I asked you what my brand is, what Steven's brand is, what would you say? So give that a thought for a second. What would you say my brand is? No matter what you say, you are correct. There's no way to get this wrong. And why is that? Because brand is what others say about you when you're not around. Okay? Now, what does that mean? Well, we're all trying to get a read on each other. We look for things that stand out in someone, how they make us feel, and whether we vibe with them. It's kind of like our brain's way of sorting out who might matter to us down the road. So even as you're tuning into this webinar, you're probably wondering, can I trust this guy? Do I believe what he's saying? It's just how we're wired. Now think about the power of words. If I keep telling you that I'm a mix of a lifetime learner, a part-time joker, and a born magician, you might start seeing me in that light. It's like putting labels on things so we can remember them better. And I have the power to influence you in some small way. Now, this is super important for actors too. Your acting brand, it's all about the vibe you give off, the experiences you create for others. You can either be careless with it, or you can use it to really make your mark. Every role you play, every scene you're in, it all adds up to how people see you in the industry. But too often, and here's the problem, actors fall into the trap of trying to fit into what they think the industry wants, right? But the truth is the industry craves authenticity, something actors often realize too late. So instead of aiming for true excellence, many actors spread themselves thin. They try to show range. This leads to performances that feel like carbon copies, the same tone, same emphasis on the same words, everyone looking and sounding identical. This sameness results in casting decisions based on who can fake it the best rather than who brings genuine authenticity. The irony being that when an actor does deliver a truly authentic performance, it stands out instantly. We can tell. It's like a lightning strike. There are actors who spend their entire careers wondering why they can't make that big breakthrough. And often that's because they haven't embraced the power of authentically being themselves, of bringing something unique and real to the roles that no one else can. This is a quote from Annette Bening. We all perform our lives in a way, and the actor is a perfect metaphor to get at that theme of how do we find our authentic selves, and that we all, whether we're actors or not, perform ourselves as a way of searching, as a way of fumbling around and trying to say, is this my voice? Is this who I am? So, brand is the experience you give others. All this business is looking for you, from you, is your authentic self. You can choose to be intentional about this or leave it up to chance, and we recommend being intentional. And how do we do that at Reelarc? So in over a decade of crafting scenes for actors, we've honed in on 3 pivotal elements that define an actor's career. The first is self-knowledge. It's understanding who you are, going really, really deep on what you represent to others. The second is self-expression, articulating your unique qualities, okay? So you are these things. How do you put it out there into the world? How do you tell people? How do you make them understand you quickly? And then we talk about also consistency, which is maintaining a coherent image across your marketing package. So let's explore each one of these here really quickly. The first is self-knowledge. So in our process together, we'll use adjectives to uncover the traits that make you unique. Are you manipulative? Are you charismatic? Are you bubbly? Are you quirky? We'll want to know these things. So we'll explore your personality to discover qualities that are great for storytelling, right? Because this whole process is about, okay, I have these attributes, and that's why I'm useful for the purpose of storytelling. We'll build your brand based off this self-awareness, and we'll learn what aspects of your acting make you stand out. Then we'll talk about self-expression. This is where we put it out into the world. So we'll work together to turn your adjectives into compelling personal stories. Together, we'll prove your qualities through real-life experiences and reflections. So it's not enough to say, I am this adjective. Now can you speak about it in a way that makes me feel it? And then we'll collaborate on to craft concise, impactful pitches that showcase your understanding and connection. And we'll truly learn to embrace the concept of I meet you, I understand you. Brand is in the gap. Right? So the quicker we can close that gap, the quicker you can find success. And we'll transform your unique traits into engaging narratives that connect with audiences and roles. Then we can talk about consistency. So we'll take the unique traits you've identified and the writing you've done on them and mix them with different jobs and relationships, so professions and relationships. And that's all that type is really, is your brand as it's represented through a profession or a relationship. Together, we'll not only explore the roles you could play, but how your personality shapes those roles. We'll go beyond generic types, like just being a lawyer type, to what kind of lawyer you are. You're going to be a different kind of lawyer than I would be, right? And what's the difference? That's brand. So by weaving your personal brand into various roles, we create a consistent and recognizable image of you. And that builds trust. What we're really talking about with consistency is building trust. So our goal is to ensure that you are always present in every role, maintaining a clear identity. And like I said, this consistency builds trust and makes you a preferred choice in the industry for casting directors and audiences. To give an example of this and how it plays out with successful actors, it says, you know, no matter where you put Ryan Reynolds, he is sarcastic, quick-witted, charismatic. Right? It doesn't matter the profession or the relationship. Viola Davis is commanding, fierce, and powerful. That is brand. We set up expectations, and then we follow through on those expectations, and we adapt and change over time. But won't that pigeonhole me, right? Being specific, picking your adjectives, doing your writing, finding specific types, on-brand types. I would say don't worry about being typecast. I would say become a type. Aubrey Plaza became a type in Parks and Rec because she was so authentically herself in that role. When you get to the point of becoming a type, you're not going to worry about being typecast anymore. So let me tell you a story about myself. When I moved to New York City about 20 years ago, I came there with long hair, very idealistic about the business. I thought, I'm just a vessel for a story, right? I want to be just clean, clear lump of clay to be molded into whatever the job required. And then I had a casting director pull me aside and say, hey, Stephen, we don't see the potential. What we see is the blank slate. And that's what most actors are doing. They're coming to this industry like a blank slate, thinking like, once I get the role, I'll really be able to expand. Well, we need your perspective before that, or else there's nothing to hang on to because every actor is doing that. They're all coming as blank slates. Perspective is key. So just like you're excited to work with your favorite directors and actors, why would you not assume that they want the same from you? And you don't generate excitement without having a perspective. So I want you to think about Wes Anderson. When he makes a new movie, do you think he's worried about being stuck in a hole, being put into a box? Or is he just further defining his unique viewpoint? It's the same for actors. So collaboration, in my mind, is perspective plus perspective, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. So you're a creator, embrace it. Again, with Wes Anderson, he works with the same actors over and over and over again. Why? Because he knows what paints that he's painting with. He knows that he can go as far as he wants to go with his storytelling because he trusts the quality of experience that the actors he chooses to work with can give his work over and over and over again. Let's also talk about range versus excellence, right? The Rock isn't worried about range. Maybe emotional range a little bit, but he's not worried about playing all these different types of characters. It's not about that. What he's trying to do is push forward what he knows everybody wants from him, and he's putting it out there, and he's very successful. He can do anything he wants at this point. Get to that point, but you have to start specific, and you have to grow over time. So you'll never have a reel that showcases everything you can do, right? So what we're really talking about is excellence. What are you excellent at now? Because it's not your job to be right for every role. It's your job to be really right for the roles you're already right for, okay? This art form is all about extremes. If a character is bored, they are the most bored anyone has ever been because that means a change must be made in their story. What this means to you is to get to the extremes of your abilities, of your behaviors, and lean into them to represent that to other people. And if you focus on range too soon, what you'll probably end up doing is confusing others and possibly even showing weaknesses in your craft. If you've got a reel and it's one scene and it's you for 5 seconds nailing something that's so clear, specific, and authentic, that's going to do you better than 3 scenes, 4 scenes, 5 scenes that are 4 minutes long that nobody's ever going to watch. And if you start with that really clean, clear vision of yourself, but then have other ideas of yourself in your reel, that's probably going to do is showcase that maybe you don't quite hit it in those other places. Now there's room for range, but you just have to make sure that you can, when you make that move, like Mark Ruffalo, for instance, he was really worried about being typecast as the sad dad. May we all be so lucky to be typecast someday to a place where we have an A-list career. And he was thinking poor things for pulling him out of that sad dad typecasting. But the difference between that and when brand doesn't work out so well, when somebody makes a choice and it's not excellent, is that Mark Ruffalo is absolutely excellent at this mode of behavior. And now the story is about Mark Ruffalo's excellence, not about the sad dad typecasting. So I hope this is making sense. It's about what can you do excellently, leading with that, and then growing over time, but being sure that every time you show up, you do the work and you bring excellence to that role. But you don't have to take my word for it. We like to listen when wisdom speaks, right? Bryan Cranston's very wise about this. And he says, you're not going there to get the job. You're going there to present what you do. And that's some hard-won wisdom. You're not going there to please someone else or give someone else what you think they want. They don't know what they want just yet. And you have the ability to influence that, but you can't do that if you don't bring your perspective. And the internet is full of success stories, successful actors telling us that when they decided to be their authentic self and stop people-pleasing, that's when their career really took off. You might be asking, what do reps think about this, about branding? So Guy and I spoke with about 14 prestigious powerhouse models and talents, new signees, like people they just brought in. And we talked about our scene creation, of course, but then I brought up our branding, what we do for branding. Afterward, the owner of that company actually reached out to me and said, all of our actors need to do this. It helps your reps do their job. We also had another actor that was reached out to through Rock Talent, and they asked specifically, what are your comedic and your dramatic pitches, right? They wanted you to have these things prepared. So reps are actually crying out for you to do this work so that they can do their job better. And what you're really saying is, because I have these attributes, I can solve your problem in this way. Our scenes are meant to be problem solvers for you, right? You can do this thing, but no one knows it because it's not on tape. Well, the Reelarc scene is the solution to that problem. And you also want to be a solution to talent reps problem, right? They have a problem. They have all these jobs that are coming in that they want their actors to be working on, right? Well, being specific and building trust and consistency allows them to make better bets on the talent they have in their roster. Now, a lot of people say self-tapes work, and they do, 100%. If you're a new actor, you can be put out there into the world based on your self-tape alone. You might have some success. But from the agents that I'm talking to, a dialed-in marketing package is extremely powerful because all they're seeing are self-tapes, right? And it's the preferred way for them to send out. So while they can send out self-tapes, what they really want is a really, really excellent marketing package. And this is all about helping them help you, right? Let's say you get picked up by an agent. They don't know you. They meet you and they see something there, but they don't fully understand you. They're going to start putting you out for roles that they think you look appropriate for, disregarding your behaviors, basically, what modes of behavior you have access to. But if you come to them and you say, this is how you should see me, this is my pitch, this is how I see myself, this is where I fit in the industry, there's a much better chance of you being put out for the jobs that you're actually going to be right for, having a higher booking percentage, and staying with that manager or rep for a longer period of time and building that relationship. So to recap, your brand is the experience you give others. It's not some newfangled thing or some concept, some necessary evil in this business. It's human nature. Most people waste their careers trying to be what they think the industry wants. But what the industry wants is your authenticity. And Reelarc solves the brand problem in a unique way that retains your authenticity. Your brand is yours because it came from you. Here's another important point. I've seen thousands of actors at this point. I have good opinions, but I have one opinion, right? And that's not going to sustain you through an entire career. It has to come from you, and you have to have ownership with it. People have been typed and they come to us and they say, I guess I'm this. They don't have ownership over it. I want you to, when you show up on set, I want you to be like, this is my statement, not, I guess someone thinks that I should do this, right? That's not a powerful position to take, and it doesn't sustain you over time. And one person has one opinion. You have to trust yourself. Also, you don't have to worry about being pigeonholed. Think excellent over range. Tom Hanks was the perfect victim for a long time in his career. He had this purity of soul that when Forrest Gump comes along, who else but Tom Hanks is going to play Forrest Gump, right? But he also had this purity of soul that when we put Tom Hanks in peril and he overcomes it, something of the human spirit overcomes that peril, right? He just represents that to us. And over time, now he's doing like the elder statesman roles. He's playing Disney. He's doing a man named Otto. He's doing all these things. But he's earned the ability to stretch himself into any role that he wants to play. Again, get to that point, but start specific. Successful actors know the truth, and we like to listen when wisdom speaks. There's all sorts of actors talking about when I actually started to be authentic, that's when my career took off. Also, your reps want you to do this. They're crying out for you to do this work, to come to them with a perspective so that they know what to do with you. And speaking of reps, with our full career packages, we personally pitch you to nearly 70 agents and managers. And we say nearly 70 agents and managers all the time, and it sounds like a cop-out, so it's 68. It's currently 68. We have 68 agents and managers we send people to. And people are booking all the time. So let's open this up to some questions. Who would like to ask me a question about this?
Ilad is asking, can you talk about prompt sentences and how to connect, personalize, and embellish your adjectives?
Absolutely. So when you pick your adjectives and then you go into the prompt sentences are, there's a ton of them, but some of them are, so I always, so I never, but don't think that I'm like, and you start filling in the blank and you start speaking from your personal experience. Now, if we get to a point where you're saying, I'm charismatic, so I always come into situations with charisma, that's not going to work for us. What we want is we want something about your charisma that only you can say. I'm charismatic. You can find me, ... in the middle of the wedding dance floor, charming the old people. That is visceral. That evokes an emotion that makes us feel something. And it's something specific to you. So we're not looking for the definitions of these words in your prompt sentences. We're looking for you to evoke a feeling that only you can give us, right? And we do that through embellishing. Tell us a story, tell us a story about yourself in an interesting way. A great pitch, the original pitch, the greatest pitch of all time, was I asked an actor named Mario Pulit. He shot a cop scene with us because he was tired of playing like mafia guys. And then he went on to play as a detective opposite J-Lo in Hustlers. So success story. I wanted to know what his perspective was. And I asked him what his brand was. And this was years ago. This was at the start of all this, knowing that it's a trick question. Nobody knows what their brand is. And he said, well, and maybe you guys have heard this a million times from me. He says, well, I'm a nice guy, so I'll give you a bear hug, but I'm a big guy too. So if you cross me, that bear hug could kill you. And my mind just exploded because I'm thinking, if I'm a creator and I have a story to tell, I'm already thinking, because he has such clarity on himself and he gave me wonder. He gave me the gift of wonder about himself, right? I'm trying to think how I can use him for the purposes of storytelling. Your pitch, your brand, it's a gift you give the industry, you know? Like a hypnotist, we lead with the wonder and then we get the message in on the back of that. That is what a pitch does. It opens up people's minds, possibilities, their creativity, right? And then we incept ourselves into their subconscious because of it. So the more evocative you can be with your words, your pitches, your adjective work, by embellishing, by personalizing and doing all of those things, the closer we're going to, the more we're going to be able to remember you later on. And an embarrassing amount of casting happens because people get remembered at the right time. You have to understand when you walk out of that audition room, when we were doing in-person auditions, they're going to say, they're going to be going through all the people they saw and they say, what about that person that made me feel like this, is essentially what they're saying. So you can be intentional about that feeling you're putting out there into the world, or you can be sort of reckless and say, okay, I'm going to do my self-tapes. I'm going to say it like I say it on the day, and that's all there is to it. But I recommend being intentional and crafting a through line to your career and leaning into those qualities of you that are excellent, figuring out what those are and doing that hard work. I promise you, there's no way that it can be bad by going through the branding work and asking yourself these questions. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, a lot of saying love it. In quotes, be a great movie,
Be a
Stephen.
great movie. Be a great movie. You are the story of you, right? You are the story of you because that's what people are talking about. And I want to impress this upon you too, which is just like a recent realization that I had. If more people agree on what you bring to the table, you have a much better chance of being a bankable actor. Like you might say Ryan Reynolds is three different adjectives than I might say, but the feeling we're trying to get across through those adjectives is the same feeling. The more people that feel that way about you, the more people are going to go to the cinema to see you, to have their expectations satisfactorily fulfilled. And that's the power of brand. And that's truly the power of consistency. Now, we've had actors that have gone completely off brand, and guess what? They've made themselves a little irrelevant in the business, right? And have the career you want to have. I'm not saying that you have to be locked into this thing. You'll grow over time, but it doesn't happen overnight. And what you risk doing is changing up the whole way that you are in such a way that we leave everybody hanging and they get confused. And a confused person is not an open person, right? So
Stephen,
that's why
Sandra is asking. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, that was basically it. Yeah. I mean, bankable actor is one that we go like Ryan Reynolds, we know what we're getting and we love it because he does it. Ryan Reynolds does two things, right? He's charismatic, he's quick-witted, right? Or whatever two words you want to say to give us that feeling, but he does them better than anybody else. And that's why he's a billionaire. And he doesn't go so off brand all the time and so off type and just dive into all these different types of characters to satisfy his needs. He's giving us the gift of his consistency and his excellence.
Stephen, Sandra Weldon is asking if you're a versatile actor, how specific should you be when crafting your brand?
Yeah. Hey, Sandra. You should be. I would love for every actor to get to the point where their brand is excellence, right? So it's all about how far and how fast you want to go. Gary Oldman, his brand is one of the greatest character actors of all time. Now, there are still some adjectives you can bring up. Enigmatic, mysterious, brooding, explosive, all these types of things. They can be associated with Gary Oldman, but his brand, how we all think about him, when I say Gary Oldman, you think incredible character actor. But that took years for that to be his brand. And it had to take steps every single time to build trust to get the next role where he could stretch. So, Sandra, it's all about how far and how fast you want to go, right? If you pick one direction, you go all the way and you're known for these types of roles. And there's no real downside to this, actually. There really isn't. You might think about being typecast or pigeonholed, but what really happens is you showcase excellence. People are going to see that excellence and extrapolate that and put that into their project however they see fit. There's really no downside to that.
So she's just following up with the question, should
Sure.
your brand contain a physical description, like a bouncy blonde,
Oh, yeah, sure.
ballsy broad, etc.?
I love it. Whatever gets the job done. This is again creative writing that's designed to give wonder. We have a guy named Ivan Andrenko. He's 6'4" and redheaded. You better believe that's a part of his pitch, right? So is there a way to make people feel who you are? I sat in on judging pitches years ago, and this young girl came in, she's a young blonde, and a part of her pitch was being an ingenue. And I remember I was struck by the fact that she didn't just say ingenue. In the way she came across, who she was being made me feel ingenue. And that's what the point of these pitches.
So,
The word,
Stephen, I'm just going to interrupt you real quick
for
because I
sure.
have a question from Emma. How
Yep,
do you determine what your brand is? As an older actor, I'm not the ingenue anymore,
sure.
but not sure who I am now.
Yeah, that's what the work does. We start to talk about modes of behavior. All of the professions or relationships, your age, all this type of stuff is ancillary to your behaviors and what you mean and how you make people feel, what you mean to people and how you make people feel. So we start with adjectives of saying like, okay, yeah, I can embody this adjective. I am this thing. Why am I this thing? Well, that's the writing. And then we take the writing and we associate it with a profession or relationship. And before you know it, it's you within the lawyer role, within the detective role. Um, so the process is the same. How it expresses itself might be very different. If you're a younger actor and you're talking about your pitch, a lot of the pitches I work on with younger actors are a lot more about energy, and like simplicity of youth. As actors get in further into their career, it becomes about experience. It becomes about the experiences that they bring to the table. That is the thing that enters into their pitch. We've got another actor named Wolfgang Van who is so eloquent, wonderful voice. He seems to live in a fantasy novel, right? So his pitch is very, very fantastical. And the words he uses are big words and fun words and big ideas and big images. And he can pull that off because that's who he is. So your pitch will basically mold to match you, not the other way around.
Ortal is asking if I choose joyful as one of my core adjectives, does that put me in a box for comedy only?
No, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I would want to talk about what your writing is for joyful. I'd want to get more specific about that. Because everybody says passion. I was like, okay, well, how does that passion express itself? How does that joy express itself? That's going to be more important. So again, the adjectives are less important than what you have to say about them, because that feeling that we're talking about, that joyful feeling, I might associate a different adjective with it. So the adjective is just a pathway to get you to writing about the experience of you. And then we can kind of leave the adjective behind, honestly. So I would want to talk more about your behaviors and how that joyfulness expresses itself. Now, if you're like bubbly or something like that, then we can talk about it. But I'll bring up Aubrey Plaza again. She hit really hard in Parks and Rec as being this particular thing. She was deadpan. I can't tell you how many actors come to me and say, I'm in comedies, I'm an Aubrey Plaza type. She became a type. Now she's adapting her brand into more mature settings, right? It doesn't feel like it's a different person in what's the criminal movie guy? You'll know the name.
The criminal movie?
Yeah, it's like it's a name the criminal. That's the title of the movie, and that's something Aubrey Plaza's in. Anyways,
Okay.
but also
Don't know
White
it. Sorry.
Lotus. It doesn't feel like a different person in White Lotus. It just feels like a more mature version of Aubrey Plaza's type in a
Yeah.
different theme, in a different genre, in a different setting, right? But it still has the same qualities of mysteriousness that she brings, or self-controlled, deadpan, enigmatic, those types of things. She still retains her brand, but it's in a more mature setting, in a different tone and different theme.
Mhm.
So
There's a lot more questions here.
that joyfulness is going to express itself in different ways, in different genres, and different themes, and different tones. Okay.
Meg is asking, and this is an interesting question. And so thank you, Meg, for that. I like the idea that I'm here to solve a problem for casting. My stumbling block is that I don't see a lot of roles out there that fit my brand in terms of age and gender. So it's almost like I'm solving a problem they didn't know they have. Question mark, I guess.
Right.
What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, whenever it's like, okay, whenever it's, how do I say this? Meg, let's get into the mindset of making the opportunities for yourself as well.
Mhm.
The business is always crafting opportunities, right? And nobody's got their finger on that pulse, really. I mean, there are people that guide it a little bit, but nobody truly has their finger on the pulse of what's going to be available to you as an actor. So we need to get into the idea of how do we create these opportunities as well. Um, and authenticity always solves a problem, right? And while it may seem like there's not a lot of jobs that are looking for your brand, I promise you they're out there. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't want to say become a producer, if we want more opportunities, but that's what a lot of actors do. That's what a lot of creatives do is I mean, even Mark Wahlberg was like, I didn't like the roles I was getting, so I became a producer to get the roles that I wanted. So I would think outside of just like what's on offer to you and to think, how can I create those opportunities while keeping in mind the opportunities are out there for you. And also, you might change someone's mind about what they're looking for if you come with such authenticity. We shot a short, Guy and I shot a short called Ultim Ratio that um, we ended up casting a woman in a role that was going to be a male role and completely changing the feel of the character
Yeah,
because she brought something special to the audition. So you never know how, if authenticity is in the room, people don't want to let it walk out without giving it its due. That's the truth.
that's so true about that. Before she walked in, it was a male role,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
It didn't change. It wasn't, and she just
And guess what?
it's
The
like
other
she
guy, yeah.
no, she gave us a feeling. It was the feeling that she
Mhm.
gave us, and it was just like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
It changed the way we filmed her. It changed the way we thought about that character.
Yeah,
She a whole backstory because of her vibe in a way that we didn't see coming. And I also want to let you know that the guy that didn't get the role because of it is a phenomenal actor,
right.
and he didn't get the role. It
You're
has
throwing
nothing
me
to do
back
with
here,
talent.
Stephen.
I know, it was years ago, right? All right. I hope that answered your
Heather,
question, Meg, but we can always talk about this offline too. Happy to.
yeah, Heather is asking, can you talk about the connection between your brand as an artist and your brand as an actor? Meaning connecting who you are personally as a professional and what you bring to a role.
Yeah, so is there a professional brand in the mix right now for a in different field? That would be my question. But um
Let's see if she answers that. So we'll,
yeah, sure, but also when it comes to okay, yeah, ask me the question one more time, guys, so I can
oh,
recalibrate
sorry.
here.
I,
Yeah, no
I,
problem.
I threw it away. One
Oh,
second.
no problem.
Bum. Can you talk about the connection between your brand as an artist and your brand as an actor, meaning connecting who you are personally as a professional and what you bring to a role?
Yeah, so that's why when we get to pitches, we have prompt sentences for the pitches as well. And those prompt sentences go like, in a comedy, in a drama, I excel at playing characters who, when people see me on screen, they immediately think. So what we're doing with pitches, we're actually taking your attributes and we're redefining that to say, okay, let's say you have like a negative adjective, I'm manipulative. You don't want to say, I'm a manipulative actor, right? You want to say, I have these attributes, therefore I excel at playing manipulative characters. I'm the perfect Iago because this art form needs all types. So what I'm saying is you take these attributes and you translate them through the lens of these prompt sentences of, therefore, I excel at playing characters who I found my niche in playing Napoleonic assholes, right? Like the abusive ex-boyfriend. We look for ways to say, okay, I have access to this for the purposes of storytelling, but that's not me all the time, although sometimes you are that. I had somebody say I'm manipulative, but not in real life. I said, that's obviously not true. You can't tell me you've never been manipulative, right? We want to define, we don't want to be defined by these things, and we don't have to be because we're not like that all the time. But what do we have access to for the purposes of storytelling? That's what we're getting at. And that's what those, sentences kind of prompt sentences get us to the point of. So we take what you have for the purposes of storytelling and we translate it into a place where it takes it off of you and says, and therefore, this is why I can solve your storytelling problem.
Um, Let me Skylar's question. While long white silver hair is now well received in commercial work, what about in TV film? I've been told it's a lighting nightmare and not well received, other than in sci-fi, which would be a blast. Can you please speak to this? It's very specific, Skylar.
Yeah, Skylar, I don't know who told you that. It's not completely untrue that bright things do cause an issue when it comes to lighting because they just reflect more light. That's why we don't like to wear white t-shirts or black t-shirts, because it drinks in all the light or it bounces too much light and takes focus away from things. But that those issues are much less prominent today. So that feels like slightly outdated information.
Yeah, I think, if somebody casts you, they want you and they'll like you. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that that is an issue ever. Um, I mean, it could be a technical issue, but I don't think casting is thinking about the technical issue in the casting room, right? I don't
Yeah.
think the
Yeah.
casting
No one's gonna
director,
say, yeah,
you're
yeah.
right.
I know where you're
The
going.
the casting is not sitting there in the casting office with the director or whatever, or the producer, and they're saying, but that hair, it's just going to be a nightmare to light. Who cares? That's the DP's problem, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You're going to get the role based off of authenticity, and then they'll solve the problems as they arise, you know. That'd be very bizarre to me, to have someone from get-go say, yeah, we can't give her the role. Her hair is too bright, you know.
Sasha is asking, on the flip side, what if I land a role that doesn't fit my brand? The money might be good, the exposure might be good, the show might be popular, but it's not what I consider my ideal work. Am I being silly to turn it down?
Um, we're in this business to work. If someone's giving you an opportunity to work and it's a good job, take it.
Hmm.
Does it have to represent you moving forward? Not necessarily. And again, that's that's a nice to have problem, isn't it? You know, I mean, isn't like Mark Ruffalo complaining about being playing the sad dad in Marvel movies, kind of like a good problem to have? You always have the ability to change, adapt, and grow. And I would definitely take a job that's not necessarily on brand. I would try to think, okay, what's the through line? What can I bring of myself that would bring it back on brand in some way? You know, because when you say it's not on brand, I have to assume that what you mean is like some aspect of like type as opposed to behaviors. Even with self-tapes, there's always a time. Why were you cast, I guess, is the question. You know, they must have seen something in your personality that matched the role. So I would look for the similarities as opposed to immediately just saying, disregarding it as being off brand.
Yeah. Yeah. They saw some mode of behavior and they cast you for that mode of behavior.
Yeah.
So yeah. Um, and if you did turn that down, Sasha, we will come after you because do not turn down any roles. You just, you know, you're
Well,
there
yeah,
there
it's
to work.
like, I suppose let's draw a
Well,
really
not any roles, but
let's
yeah.
go for like a really interesting like comparison here. It's like Ryan Reynolds being cast in The Machinist, you know? That's never gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not gonna happen because that's not the essence that he brings. But even if he
With
did,
that vision, with that director's vision,
exactly.
with the movie's vision,
But
yeah.
let's say that it did happen. Um, yeah, make the money. Uh, I a recent conversation I had was about like, well, I don't want about the things that an actor doesn't want in the future. And my perspective is engage with the business as much as possible. Engage with the business. You're going to grow so much more from the experiences you have and the connections you make from engaging with the business as opposed from sitting back and saying like, no, I don't want to do that type situation. Um, so engage with the business. But guess what? When that's all done, that goes in a can somewhere. You get to decide if you want to put it out there in the world as being something that represents you moving forward.
Beverly is asking, I just finished my reel with Reelarc, and it was a crime drama. Although, when I was shot, it was funny, and I would rather do comedic roles. Do I have one reel with drama and drama crime and one with comedy? Is that confusing? A little bit. Beverly is asking, and again, do I only stick to one type of reel?
Well, so the way that we look at it is that a reel is not super important at the beginning of your yeah, okay. You want clips of all your work when you're starting out so that people can see the thing on Actors Access and click the thing that they think looks the most like what they're casting for in their project. You want a reel at that point also if someone's taking a deeper look. Now, casting might not take too much of a deeper look if they like your clips, but an agent or a manager may take a look at your reel. Now, when you get to a certain level, yes, you are going to want a comedic and a dramatic reel. One of our directors, an amazing director, is going on to do amazing things, Nicole Lear, she says that, yeah, when you're looking at an actor for like a role in a movie at a certain level, you are going to want to take a deeper look at their work. So reels still are relevant at a certain echelon. It's just there are different steps to all of this, and you can't just say a reel, is it good or is it bad? But yes, at one point when you build up enough work, the business will ask what it needs from you. It'll say you need a dramatic and you need a comedic reel. But that's future stuff. For right now, you want to put excellence out there. You want to get in, showcase what you can do quickly, and then, and then end the reel and
Monica's
know that you
asking,
put it out there.
I've been described as both sophisticated and wild, powerful and sensitive, and that's authentically me. How would I go about choosing, quote, a brand when I embody these seemingly opposite attributes? We are all so complex.
Of course. Margaret Qualley is all of those things. She's
Say that
all of
again.
those
Oh, yeah,
things.
right.
Margaret Qualley is all of those things. Look her up. And I don't think it's off brand. I don't think these things are it's situational. Like that's the story of you. I'm sophisticated at a dinner party, but I'm wild wherever else. You know what I mean? These are situational. So that becomes the story of you. I don't think they're at odds with each other. We're all just trying to tell a story. Um,
Anonymous is asking, I started my career playing nurse, doctor in film and TV. Having my RN degree really helped. Using objectives like, sorry, adjectives like kind, caring. Is there a way to expand the roles I can play? I've played lots of moms, lawyers, biz people. Question, how long should the reel be? Okay, there's a lot of questions here.
yep.
Um, should it be a combo of drama and comedy? I've heard 8 seconds of each role is good. Um,
Right. How do you expand that? My first question would be if it's bringing you success, what are you trying to expand to? If it's not bringing you success, then obviously something's not clicking about the authenticity of it. Not to say you're not being authentic. It's just like the business is sort of asking for something different and you need to figure out what that is and know and figure out a way to make it work for you to be viable. And when it comes to length of reel, yeah, I mean, the sort of accepted thing is like a minute and a half to 2 minutes long for a reel. For us, so the demo reel is the original 6 second art form. People are going to know in 6 seconds if they want to continue watching, right? It's like, of course, we're all scrolling through. It's like us scrolling through Instagram. If it doesn't capture us immediately, we're going to keep scrolling. But I don't think that the demo reel has kept pace with current marketing. And that's something that we're doing with our scenes is we're really focusing on hooking people's attention, keeping that attention for as long as we can, right? So 8 seconds, I don't know. I mean, like what's the magic number? Nobody knows. How long can you actually hold attention? And do you hook it at the start? That's the real question. So I would say all of your scenes, when they're distilled down to your demo reel, your clips, should be as short as possible to get the job done of hooking someone's attention and keeping it to the point of showing your excellence.
yep. Great question from Samantha, who just signed on actually. I am a female Filipino American actress, and I want to further redefine and diversify how Asian Americans are perceived. For so long, could never relate to people on TV, but it seems as though the industry is breaking out of Asian stereotypes and creating more complex and relatable characters. Beef, Past Lives, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Great,
Right.
great projects are recent refreshing examples. Do you feel as though we are entering a space where there will be more diversity for Asian American actors? And and is that something to lean into as a brand?
Uh, First question, yes, 100%. We're moving into a new era of Asian representation in our art form.
Mhm.
The second question is important to lean into. Is it important to you? Do you want to make your career about your heritage? Some people do, some people do not. That's a completely
Great
personal,
answer. Yeah.
is a completely personal experience. So, Yeah, I mean, or some actors come with like really kind of dark past. They've had some really terrible things happen to them. They have to make the decision of as if they want to be make their career about a message or not. And that's entirely up to you. That's entirely up to you. Like, what's going to make you feel good at the end of the day? Leading with that or not? If you don't feel great about it, don't do it. If you feel awesome about it, then dive in feet first. That's authentic.
Yep. Um, I get submitted a lot for 40s and fit. No, not this one. My agent sends me for roles that are out of my range. Should I be submitting for those, or am I wasting my time and harming my reputation?
Every opportunity you get to be in front of people to express your brand once you know it. And what I mean by that is when you read something, you always have a way to bring the work that you've done into that role. Every single time you should be, it's is a time to express your personality as vulnerably as you can in every single audition that you get. Yes, you should do them. And you know what? You might just be so damn good at being authentically you that you change their mind about what is right for the role. But you don't get there by trying to fake it or trying to be like what you think they want. It's as obvious as a donkey with a dress on. And there's going to be somebody out there. I've been saying that for 10 years. That's why guys laughing. Um, and there's going to be somebody out there that is that thing. So don't try to be anything. Never try. Stop trying. Just be you.
Mhm.
And that the work helps you set a foundation for that. So yeah,
Or Tom,
absolutely. You have an opportunity to act in front of someone, take it.
or Tom is asking how much, and this is related to the actual Reelarc brand blueprint digital course. And if you want, guys, I'm gonna, I guess, maybe drop a link in the chat so everybody can see how much time you think you should take to thoroughly create your brand with the prompt sentences and pitches. I find myself working on it all weekend, and I struggle a bit with the prompt sentences and the pitches, even though I wrote a lot.
Yeah. Um,
So how much time? How long do you think you should take to build this stuff?
I would say get through the process as this is not going to be a cop out answer, I promise. It sounds like it's going to be. Get through the process as quickly as you can to finish it so that then you can edit as you move through your career. Do not get caught up in different steps and things like that. Get to the point where you have completed the assignment because then you're at a point where you can edit. It's the same with scenes. If we send you all of your dailies the next day and you're overwhelmed by the dailies, just have us make the first cut for you. Because then you're editing based off of fully realized thing. You're not trying to recreate it and craft it all in your head from the dailies, right? It's the same with your brand. Get to a point where you've completed the assignment, and guess what? You'll go back to them and say, that's not quite right, and I'll adjust it. And you'll change it over time. So I would say get through the process as quickly and as authentically as you can so that you can edit later on down the line as you grow and change.
Great. Um, what's a better network to find? I mean, this is what's a better network to find roles, actors access or backstage? Backstage would be more for beginners, where you can find a lot more indie and theater productions.
Yeah.
Actors access will be a little bit more like where the projects are at. However, what you really want to be part of is the breakdown services, which are only accessible to managers and agents. And those are where the film and TV projects, the quote unquote real ones are. So if you don't have an agent, you don't have a manager, you want to start, looking, but first, obviously, defining your brand, creating an amazing media package, and then reaching out to the agents and managers. But it's totally fine if you want to start in backstage, and backstage, um, I only have one, Beverly, I will come back to that. Let me see. There's a lot of questions.
Great.
I filmed two scenes with Reelarc, but recently updated my headshots. How often do you review profiles in your rep link database to pitch to agents? Well, send us your headshots. Just, send to hello@reelarc.com your new headshots, and we'll just replace them in our database. For you that don't know this, all of our Reelarc clients at the end of their process get inserted into a passive database. Basically, those 68 agents and managers periodically go in there and peruse and see if there are people that they like and sign. And there have been people that have been signed from, on there in the past. Um, but our real revolution and our package, which is also something maybe that Janella was asking, our big package where we help you with the three pillars of brand, media, and reps. We actually pitch you one by one to those 68 agents and managers. So all of our clients get inserted to the Repling database, but only a few get pitched to the actual agents and managers. But Mina, feel free to send the new headshots. We'll replace them. Great. Let's just do a little bit of fire. What is it called? Fire
Quick,
round.
quick fire. Yeah, that's not it either.
Um, I only have one reel. Is it enough to look for an agent? I have done background work and I know that doesn't count. So no IMDb credits. So one reel. Um, to that, I would say uh, make sure that that one reel is on brand. And by all means, I mean, you can definitely look for an agent and they may sign you. Some agents will sign you sometimes with no media. Depends what agents it is. But it's always best to have one piece of media that is on brand, and that can take you a lot further. Anonymous is asking, how do you know when you're authentic? How do you measure that, Steve?
Um, I mean, that's like a self-knowledge thing.
Yeah.
I don't think you can measure authenticity, but what you can give is perspective. And I'll give you an example. If later on, look up um, Hugh Laurie auditioning for House. He's in his kitchen and he sends in this tape and it's amazing. And he doesn't try. He just shows so much perspective and how he feels about the lines that I get the impression from that tape alone that this is something that can carry a TV show. His perspective is so clear and so strong, it's going to inform every other creative around him what the tone is of the show because he is so authentically in his perspective. So while it's not something that you can measure, I suppose, um, it is about defining your perspective and showing us your perspective, how you feel about the lines you're saying. Not how do I sing the song of these lines, because everybody else is singing the same song, same emphasis, same inflection, all those things. But how can you show us how you feel about the lines? In The Usual Suspects, Benicio del Toro, right, has this amazing thing where they all have to stand up and say this line, right? They're all in a lineup. It's Benicio del Toro and Kevin Spacey and all these other actors, and each one has to go and say whatever the attacker said so that they can hear it in their voice. Benicio del Toro, he says the words, but how he feels about the words is so much stronger than the words could ever be that he gives us his perspective. And that is authentic acting. We know how he feels about the words. The emotion is so strong and so clear. So while I don't think you can measure it, I think authenticity is something that we know and we can see when we see it. And it's about perspective, how you feel about what you're saying.
Great. I'm just answering a couple of people here, what
Sure.
I can. Um, I speak three languages and have great clips on brand, but in various languages. Do I omit these from my reel or have separate clips for separate languages?
Yeah, who are you working with, I suppose? Like who's your management, who's your agent? Because that's a conversation you should have with them about what they need to support you in getting the career that you want. Um, you know, again, it's like a how far, how fast type situation do you want to go? You get more specific, you have the ability to go further faster. When it comes to being bilingual or multilingual, that's a special skill essentially. In my book, that's a special skill where it's just like, and I can speak this and I can speak this if that's something that your project needs. But yeah, you probably want to lead with the thing that is most relevant in the market you're working in. And it has a lot to do with, we think about accents and we talk about getting rid of accents or accent reduction. And I hate the term. We're talking about accent addition. We're talking about what can you add to your repertoire that's going to help, right? So if you think about like English actors, they add an American accent. They don't reduce their accent, their British accent. They add an American accent to be relevant in the market that they want to work in. So think about it from terms of that. Like what can you lead with as opposed to get rid of?
There is a question here, and I'll answer that. My manager keeps sending me out on commercial auditions from Tara, which is great, but I have zero training in that area and I have been focused on TV and film. My question is, do I look for a new manager because they are not sending me out on what I'm trained in, or do I get training in commercials because maybe they see something else in me that I don't? Here's to answer that. Is that okay, Stephen, if I take that for a
Yeah, of
moment?
course, please.
Sorry, it's important to note that managers and agents, they're also in this is how they make money and this is how they survive. So it's low-hanging fruit for them to send you out on commercial auditions because if you book the job, that means you make money, that means that they make money. So for a lot of beginning actors, you'll have a commercial agent, you'll have a manager that sends you on a lot of commercials to help keep the lights on for you guys and sometimes also for them. So it's important to know that if you don't want to do any commercials, then yes, it may be a time to have a serious conversation with your manager and tell them you don't want to do that anymore. Because a manager is there to help you with your career. It's not just, there is no like commercial manager, right? They should be sending you out on what it is that you want them to, because they're there to help your career. So if you're feeling like you're not aligned on that, you need to have that conversation. I do believe that you should go out on commercials because it is, if you do book a commercial, it's a great way to exercise, your acting skills in a very in a different situation. But if you and your manager are not like seeing eye to eye about that, then it's time to move on. But always have a conversation about these things. Um,
Yeah, I would always rather have the problem of abundance than
yeah.
the problem of lacking. It's a much
Mhm.
better position. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. We have 4 minutes left. So let me see what other questions are coming in here. Janella is asking, you mentioned that self-tapes work, but a more dialed in marketing package makes the stronger impression the reps are looking for. Could you explain exactly what is in this package the reps are looking for, if
Oh,
provided?
oh yeah, of course. So your representation is going to be pushing you on and to bigger, better things, to producers, to casting directors, whatever the case may be. Um, they want their reputation to be surrounded by you. They always get the best from them, right? Because it's all reputation based. Now, they can send self tapes or they can work with self tapes and all those things if they don't have something else. But obviously, a stronger play would be the higher quality marketing materials and things. There's all bets, right? Everybody's making a bet on you. They're taking on a bet. They're betting on you when they take you on to represent you. They're betting on you when they push you on to auditions. Casting directors are betting on you that when they push you on to that next thing, the producer, whatever the case may be, or they go through the casting process, they're taking a bet on you that you're going to be consistently good throughout that process and not make them look bad for taking the bet on you. So you want to be the best bet possible for anyone who's going to represent you or push you on to the next level. And we do that by being as professional as possible, as to have everything as dialed in and thought out as possible. And we talked to a specific agent who was like, yeah, self-tapes work, but man, I wish that all of my actors had Reelarc scenes and dialed in marketing packages. I could do my job so much easier.
Hmm. Yeah.
So they're looking for professionalism. They're looking for trust that this person doesn't feel new or um, unsavvy or green, all of those things.
And let's be honest, like they don't want to do the work for you. I mean, it sounds kind of like crazy, but they make 10%, you make 90%, right? So 90% of the work falls on you, 10% of the work falls on them. So they don't want to be, You know, you may get an agent or a manager with just self tapes and, but it doesn't just stop there. They'll tell you immediately, well, I need more from you, right? And sometimes that's their cop out, right? And when your contract
Yeah.
comes to an end, it's like, well, I've asked for more and we need more.
Yeah.
Don't let them have that cop out at the end of the contract to be like, well, we just don't have the right materials. That's like, be the actor that has all the right materials, right at the right time, on brand, ready to rock.
Yeah, it's dominoes, right? And if you don't have the right thing at the right time, then we take a domino right out of there, and guess what? Your career doesn't move forward. It's that simple.
Um, Great. So the questions are kind of dwindling down. They're becoming about a lot of other things like accents and etc.
Good.
Um, we're at 2 p.m. Any other last question or anything like that that relates to brand? Uh,
If you have extra questions, email me at steven@reelarc.com about accents, the whole 9 yards. I'll be happy to talk to you about those.
Yeah. And if you're interested to work with us at Reelarc, feel free to reach out to guy@reelarc.com. We'll be happy to get you started on a scene package or as part of our Real Revolution, which we're very excited about to help pitch you to 68 agents and managers at the end of the process. Steven, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from this one. It helped me kind of like I'm thinking about, okay.
It
So
helps when you're obsessive about things.
yeah.
Guys, I hope that you guys got some really great information. Ask me questions at any time. I love to talk about this stuff if you couldn't tell. And I think there is a way to navigate this business in a way that's empowering. And I think we found it. So I'm happy to work with any and all of you. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you so much for coming. And we'll be having these every month. So join if you come up with new questions. Let's keep the party going.
Thank you so much, guys. Bye bye.
Bye bye.